Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we ask if Eldrad Ulthran will free Jaghatai Khan from the Webway. No real need for a spoiler warning today, but just keep in mind I will be mentioning events from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's waste no time and just jump straight in. Now, the galaxy has had some pretty big movers and shakers over its history. Individuals who have truly shaped it to their whims, and left their fingerprints in its evolution. Names such as the Emperor of Mankind, Sarek the Silent King, Horus Lupercal, Abaddon the Despoiler. You can't deny that each of them has altered the galaxy in their own way. And I'd wager Eldrad Ulthran, the ancient Aeldari seer, absolutely belongs on that list of names. Throughout the thousands and thousands of years of Eldrad's life, he has attempted to manipulate events across the galaxy, always to the Eldari's benefit. He has done, and continues to do, everything and anything he can to avert his race's slow decline to extinction. He's literally attempted to awaken a god before it's ready, Ennead, god of the dead, and he most likely would have succeeded were it not for the intervention of the Death Watch. So Eldrad is most certainly not afraid to play with the strings of fate. Even those of other races, the Imperium of Mankind most prominent amongst them. It is said Eldrad has conversed with the Emperor himself, though there is little evidence to prove it. What we do know is that he was involved with the Great Heresy, at first attempting to warn Fulgrim of Horus's foreseen fall to chaos, and then instrumental in helping Vulcan reach the throne world, bypassing the demonic horde assailing the portal. Even now, 10,000 years later, he has a representative upon Lord Commander Guilliman's council. Rabute apparently eager to form a working relationship between the two races. But though it would appear Eldrad is intent on aiding mankind, ensuring the survival of the Imperium, the truth is it's not that straightforward. His only goal in reality is the survival of his own people. And he knows quite simply the Imperium is the only hope of fighting back the tides of chaos, and a means to an end. So he will work with humanity, even aid them when he has to, so long as it serves the Aeldari. Make no mistake about it, Eldrad would sacrifice an entire populated system of the Imperium to save but one Aeldari life. And so, in terms of aiding the Imperium, it raises a very important question for me regarding the current situation, and a certain lost primarch within the Webway, Jaghatai Khan, primarch of the White Scars. Could Eldrad be involved with the Khagan's return? Jaghatai was last seen pursuing Drukhari Xenos into a Webway portal, where the portal would then close behind him, cutting him off from the galaxy and his sons. His fate since then a mystery. He could have been wandering the Webway eternally since then, taken prisoner within the gladiator pits of Commorragh, or like I personally believe, trapped within a fractured corridor of the Webway, where time no longer flows properly, reliving the same moment over and over again in a never-ending cycle. Or it could be something else entirely. Until the Khagan returns, we'll never know. In my opinion, even the Eldari don't know of Jaghatai's exact location. Even the enigmatic Harlequins, the masters of the Webway. For surely otherwise Eldrad himself would know. And if he did, given the situation of the galaxy, Abaddon and Chaos's success, You might think he would have done something by now to aid Jaghatai's return, for nothing more than simple practicality. Needs must. Out of desperation. A Primarch back for the Imperium improves their chances against chaos, and that improves the Aeldari's hope for survival. And hey, if you think so, you could well be right. Commorragh for me is unlikely. If Jaghatai were in the gladiator pits, then surely there would have been a sighting by now. For all its isolated location, we've actually seen quite a lot of Commorragh within the lore. There's been more than a few Imperial incursions to the Dark City, and never even the barest trace of a sign of Jaghatai. So Jaghatai is, most likely I'll grant you, still within the Webway somewhere, awaiting to be found, even by the Aeldari. There is of course the possibility he could simply find his own way out, emerging from a Webway portal unexpectedly on some remote world within the Imperium, probably by sheer happenstance on a world in need of his Primarch aid. While at one time I would say that's unlikely, I don't think any of us predicted El Johnson's return to transpire as it did. Him simply arriving on an unknown world within Imperium Nihilus. So we really can't rule anything out. Jaghatai could very well simply emerge on a random world somewhere, out there amid the vastness of the galaxy. However, just because it is the Webway we're talking about here, I'd say the odds of the Aeldari becoming involved with Jaghatai's return becomes very, very likely. And although Eldrad is technically aligned with Craftworld Ulthway, you've got to imagine he would be instrumental in any Aeldari involvement regarding the Khagan. As soon as the Harlequins become aware of the Primarch, if they aren't already, you have to think Eldrad would be consulted. It's even probably more likely that Eldrad would see a sign of Jaghatai's coming and already be moving to intervene. And so the question for today is how? How would Eldrad intervene? By aiding Jaghatai, helping him escape the Webway and returning to the Imperium? Or something else? I'd say the odds are that he would seek to aid the Khan, most likely approaching him with an offer to help him leave the Webway, as I think is the general belief. He'd have to be cautious, bearing in mind it was the Drukhari Jaghatai was chasing when he entered the Webway, and Jaghatai of all the Primarchs is a particularly wary one, cautious to offer his trust. But if Eldrad came alone, spoke of his assistance given to Vulcan before the Siege of Terra, his now cooperation with Guilliman, maybe even his failed attempt to warn Fulgrim prior to the heresy, I think it's possible Jaghatai may relent enough to allow Eldrad's assistance, at least in terms of getting out of the Webway. But it certainly wouldn't be an easy conversation. Again, given what we know, it makes sense for Eldrad to want to help a Primarch return to the Imperium if he can, because even with Guilliman's return, the galaxy is still a mess. Never has chaos been as ascendant as it is now. Sure, perhaps they came closer to victory during the Siege of Terra, but now thanks to Abaddon, the warp has flooded the physical galaxy, cloven it in two. Demons walk freely, and empires are claimed in the name of the Pantheon. Any Primarch loyal to the Emperor, and thus against chaos, is a huge boost. And Jaghatai is perhaps one of the few who might listen. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Leman Russ within the Webway. You've got no chance there, Eldrad. But regardless, I think that's the common belief. The Aeldari were involved in Guilliman's own return, and with Jaghatai being within the Webway, it wouldn't be too much of a shock to see them involved with his return in some way. However, for me as ever there is a however. And no, I'm not trying to rhyme. While Eldrad may aid humanity as long as it aligns or benefits his own people, as we said, he has equally as often been its enemy. And while chaos may very well be a threat to the entire galaxy, right now, you could argue it's mostly a threat to the Aeldari. At the culmination of the Arcs of Omen campaign, Vashtor assembled his Demon World copy of Caliban, Wormwood, which then activated its own form of sub-realm gateway, according to the Imperium, aka essentially a Webway portal. Since then, information has been pretty limited, but Wormwood has been appearing at random across the galaxy, implying to me it's tearing its way through the Webway. Since this event, I have long believed that some form of war must be being fought against the forces of chaos within the Webway. It is the Eldari's home, their territory, the location of the fabled Black Library. It is something they simply cannot allow chaos to roam freely. And such is the threat posed. I honestly expect a unified front from all forms and branches of the Aeldari kin. The Craftwelders, Harlequins, Drukhari alike, even possibly the Exodites. And if this war is going on as I believe, being fought right now, and then Jaghatai is going to be discovered, it does raise the intriguing question of why would Eldrad send him back to the Imperium? Isn't it far more within the Aeldari toolbox to manipulate and use something towards their own end? To, as they so often have, use humanity to do their work for them. And so is it just possible we could see Jaghatai drawn into this war within the Webway? Now, I'm not talking about the Khan fighting alongside the Xeno Eldar. Absolutely not. But could I see Eldrad becoming aware of Jaghatai within the Webway, and then manipulating the flow of battle to him? Or schemingly guiding Jaghatai to the traitors and demonic invaders? Well, honestly, yes, that I could see. And it is noted within the final chapter of the Arcs of Omen campaign that Eldari representatives had approached the Inquisition for help regarding Vashtor, but that the Inquisition declined. Are the Eldari above using a primarch in return for that? I don't think they are. I think it's something that they would do gladly, looking down on a primarch just as much as any baseline human, if not more so. And Jaghatai would be a huge distraction for the forces of chaos too. As soon as chaos found out there's a primarch within reach, they would be all over him, desperate for the trophy. And the Aeldari would know that, Eldrad most of all. Using Jaghatai as a distraction, a weapon, could very well allow Eldrad and the Aeldari to work on whatever scheme they have planned. Because of course they'd have one. It's Eldrad we're talking about here. Of course he'd be jeopardizing his relations with Guilliman in doing something like this, not informing Guilliman right away another brother lived, found within the Webway. But how would Guilliman ever know? He wouldn't. Jaghatai would just instead end up turning up amid a battle against the forces of chaos, most likely completely unaware the Aeldari had manipulated the whole encounter. I think if we can learn anything from Guilliman's return to the Imperium, and the Lions, it's that no Primarch return will play out as straightforwardly as we expect. No one thought the Aeldari would be involved if Guilliman ever awoke. No one thought the lion would awaken not within the rock. So the chances of Jaghatai simply emerging from the Webway and getting on with the job is most likely pretty unlikely. There is going to be more to that story. And this invasion of chaos within the Webway makes for some unprecedented situations. And it's at least a possibility, with Jaghatai being within the Webway, that he could somehow end up involved, whether manipulated or not. At the end of the day, the Webway is going to become a big focus of attention at some point, and knowing there's a primarch within it opens up some intriguing speculation. And I really wouldn't be surprised to see Eldrad Ulthran become involved with the primarchs once again, as he has throughout history. While yes, whatever actions he takes may be to aid Jaghatai and humanity, there's one thing you can be certain of: they will absolutely be in the best interests of the Aeldari. But as always everyone, what do you think? Could we see Eldrad Ulthran become involved with the return of Jaghatai? And if so, just how could that be? Could you see Eldrad aiding Jaghatai's escape from the Webway? Or given the current events of chaos, could we see Eldrad manipulating the Primarch for his own aims, to aid his own people's fight against the great enemy? And if so, just how do you think that could transpire? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.